Hi friends, here is a nice problem. We are given this function sine of log of under root 4 minus x square by 1 minus x. What is the range of this function? We have sine here. Sine generally runs from minus 1 to 1. But we have a log here. And within that log also we have a square root and some denominator. So first let us try to understand what is the domain of this function. And then we will see whether the domain is big enough to accommodate the entire sine function, to entire sine range of sine. Sine range is minus 1 to 1. Is the domain sufficient to accommodate minus 1 to 1 or some part of it? Okay, so let us take this function. Log of under root 4 minus x square by 1 minus x. Firstly, there is a square root here, so 4 minus x square should be greater than 0. Okay, please note it should be greater than 0 because if it is equal to 0, log 0 is not defined. So this should be greater than 0. If it is equal to 0, the numerator is 0. So log becomes log of 0. Log of 0 is not defined. Log is defined only for positive ones. Right, log is not defined for negative ones or 0. At the same time, 4 minus x squared should be greater than 0. And because this is a square root and because this is greater than 0, this numerator is always positive. 1 minus x also should be positive. Right. If 1 minus x is negative and numerator is positive, log becomes negative. So which is not good for us. So what we want is 4 minus x square should be greater than 0. That means x square should be less than 4. That means x should lie between minus 2 to 2. Right. X square is less than 4 means obviously x should lie between minus 2 and 2. At the same time, 1 minus x should be greater than 0. What does that mean? X should be less than 1. What does that mean? Domain this and this put together, we have two conditions. Minus 2 less than x less than 1. Okay. So this is our domain. Broadly, we have figured out what is our domain. Okay, rightly so. So what is 4 minus x square? 4 minus x square is actually a parabola. Right, it's in the form of is ax square plus bx plus c. It will be something like this. Okay, so there will be a highest point 4 minus x square. When x equal to 0, it becomes 4. Otherwise, because x square is always positive, as x keeps increasing, this will be lower. Okay, so now we want this between minus 2 and 1. Okay, x can lie between minus 2 and 1. Okay, so now let's see this thing as x is approaching 1. So for example, 0.9, 0.99 likewise. Then what will happen to this one? Then it becomes, let's say, root 4 minus x square. Uh, root 4 minus x is close to 1. So let's see, it becomes like this. Root 4 minus 1, which is root 3 by roughly x is approaching 1, so it is almost 0. Right, x is approaching 1 or 0.000 something. So this entire thing will approach a huge number, that is it will be close to infinity. Okay, so this fraction will become very high. It will become very high as x approaches 1 from the left. X approaches from the front 1, that is from 0. Then this value of fraction becomes very high. Okay, obviously, when this value of fraction is becoming very high, log of this fraction will also become high. Okay, what does that mean? This log of this fraction, it can become as high as we want, right? So, and then this sine function, there's a sine function. Sine function, the range, for range, what do you want? Basically, sine range is 1 to minus 1, right? This is 1, this is minus 1. Okay, so if we have and how much do we need for the sine cycle? We need the period of 2 pi. Okay, as long as you have a period, as long as this log of this thing, log of this entire thing ranges for a period of 2 pi, ranges for a period of 2 pi, then sine will take any value between -1 to 1. Right. So now we can see this value, log of this value can go up to infinity. So obviously this 2 pi we can actually fit in between this thing. Okay, let us look at the graphs also once to understand this better. Okay, firstly 4 minus x square, which is a parabola, is like this, the green one. This green one is a parabola. Okay, now under root 4 minus x square, obviously that is this one, the red one. Red one. This is valued only between -2 less than x less than 2. Okay, parabola can be anything, x can be anything, but once it comes to 4 under root 4 minus x squared, this is like this. Now h of x, which is once you do 1 minus x, 1 minus x, it can take anything, but once you are doing log of this thing, right? Once you are doing this domain, it has to stay below 1. Okay, x has to stay below 1. This part, this blue one, h of x, once you do this ratio is this blue line, and this blue line. But we want the domain to be restricted till this point only. So we can ignore this point. You can ignore this point. Why? Because we want this thing to be positive. This is positive between -2 and 1. Okay. So -2 and 1 is our domain for this function, right? So that's why in between -2 and 1, this blue line is always positive. What is this blue line? Blue line is the ratio of these two, right? Now log to the log of this thing. Obviously, this can be as big as you want, right? As x approaches 1 from the left side, as x approaches like this to the 1, then this blue line can be as big as you want, right? Because this number 1 minus x will approach 0. 1 minus x will approach 0 because the denominator is approaching 0. H of x can be as big as you want. Obviously, what does that mean? Log of h of x. Log of this whatever fraction can be as big as we want. Okay. We are still concerned about -2 to 1. Okay. So between -2 and 1, log can be as big as we want. So this function also can be as big as you want. So for example, this one, if you want 0, we'll get 0. This function, you can see between -2 and 1, if you want, you can get 0. If you want 2 pi, you can get 2 pi. 2 pi will be somewhere in the top, right? If you want 2 pi, you can get 2 pi because log of this thing, whatever number you want, you can bring that because this is going to infinity. Okay. This fraction is going to infinity. What we want, so for example, log 10 of root of 4 minus x square by 1 minus x. If this you want is 2 pi. What does that mean? Under root 4 minus x square by 1 minus x should be equal to 10 power 2 pi. Right. So the number is very, very huge. Right. 10 power 2 pi means 10 power 6, 6.2, something like this. Right. 10 power 6.2. So the number is very huge, but still you can get it. You can at this point when this thing is equal to 10 power 6.2 or roughly something, then log of this value would be equal to 2 pi and sine will not naturally reach the full cycle, right? So what that means is, broadly what we are trying to say is, this number can be as big as you want. So obviously sine then completes the full cycle. So sine will have full range of -1 to 1. Okay, sine will have full range of -1 to 1. If not just 2 pi, we can make it from 2 pi to 4 pi also, or 1 pi to 3 pi also. Doesn't matter. So as long as this one can be as big as we want. So sine can take the full cycle. So sine can take its entire quarter of +1 to -1. If this part is restricted, say for example from 0 to pi by 2 only, then we can say the range of this function is restricted to 0 to 1. But here this part is not restricted. Why? Because of this denominator. Because this denominator is helping us to make the fraction and to make the log as big as we want. Okay, now that means sine at some point it will reach what all these values that we want, -1 to 1. Right, guys? Hope you understood this. Thank you.